Hey y'all! So about a little over a week ago, new covers for both the Mortal Instruments series and the Infernal Devices trilogy were announced, and I just like 2 days ago realized that this happened, and so I decided to make a video talking about the covers. Because as we all know, I absolutely love Cassandra Clare, I love the Mortal Instruments series, I love the Infernal Devices, I can't wait for the new books, I love Cassandra Clare. And for me, the thought of one of my favorite series getting new covers makes me a little cautious. Like, the new Harry Potter covers, I have not bought them, I have no interest in buying them. Like, Harry Potter for me will always be those original US covers that I have and love. So before I talk about the new covers, I feel like I should give you some background on my opinions of the original covers. Overall, I'm pretty ambivalent about most of the Mortal Instruments covers, but I actually really like the Infernal Devices covers. While sometimes I do get annoyed with that model on the cover thing, I feel like it works pretty well for the Infernal Devices. Not so much for the Mortal Instruments. For me, some of the Mortal Instruments covers lean toward cheesy, which is really cringeworthy for me. Especially the cover of City of Bones. I mean, could they be trying any harder to pull in the female young adult audience? If you want to know more about my thoughts, I actually did do an entire post dedicated to Cassandra Clare's book covers on my blog last summer when I did my reading challenge, so I will link that down in the description. So I'm gonna go book by book, looking at the original cover and the new cover, comparing them and saying which one I like better, and then I'll talk about my overall opinions on these new covers. Okay, so the City of Bones cover. This is the original and this is the new one. So the first thing that I'm noticing with the new City of Bones cover is that it looks like they're doing what the Lunar Chronicles does with their paperbacks, where the cover is shorter than the first page so that you can see text running down the side because it says a Shadowhunter's novel down the side. So it looks like they're releasing them in paperback, which I'm okay with because if I do end up buying them, it's a lot nicer on my wallet. So just like with the original cover, it looks like Jace is here, and I can already tell you that I like this a lot better than the original. It's not, you know, so cheesy with the bare chest and the tattoo shimmering, and I like that it looks more real, like it looks like action is going on rather than just someone standing and modeling on the cover. I will say though that it does kind of seem a little bit less dynamic than the original cover just because Jace is much smaller than he is on the original cover. However, I would say that I really like this cover. Not only do I think that it's a good depiction of Jace, I also think that it just kind of looks cool and not cheesy like the original cover. Moving on to City of Ashes, once again, original, new one. I like that for City of Ashes, they kept with the same color scheme. Like, for some reason, I always associate each of the books with whatever color they are, and so I'm glad that I can continue to associate City of Ashes with blue, and with Clary and her red hair. I'm not totally sure how I feel about this one. I would probably say that I still like it better than the original cover, just because I like that it looks like there's action going on, once again, rather than just a model standing and posing. But I don't know. I'm also not so sure how I feel about having the runes in the background of all the covers. I mean, it doesn't necessarily bother me, I just feel like it seems unnecessary. Overall, I don't like it as much as I like the new City of Bones cover, but I would still say that I do like it better than the original cover. Okay, moving on to City of Glass, which is my favorite book in the Mortal Instruments series and one of my favorite covers in the Mortal Instruments series. Once again, this is the original and this is the new one. Right off the bat, the first thing that I notice, and I looked it up to make sure that I was correct, is that it is not Sebastian on the cover of this one like on the original City of Glass cover. It's actually Simon. And I'm not totally sure about how I feel about that because I do feel like Sebastian was the better choice for the cover. And I feel like because this is just a character sitting still rather than an action shot, it does kind of feel like the model posing on the cover thing again. However, I do still like that the image looks more three-dimensional because I feel like the original covers look very flat, especially since there's always the skyline at the bottom. It always just feels like a very flat 2D image, and these images seem, you know, more 3D, more realistic. I definitely don't dislike it, but I'm not sure I like it better than the original. However, I do like the color of this one because this shade of like a dark red is one of my favorite colors of all time. So I mean, personally, I like that. Overall, I'm just gonna call this one a tie because there are things about each of them that I like, and I can't really decide between the two of them. So I'm gonna say this one's a draw. Okay, so moving on to City of Fallen Angels. Once again, original, new one. And honestly, I know that this is really petty and really dumb and very personal, but it bothers me that the color has been changed. And while I do definitely like this blue shade a lot better than the orangey yellow shade that was on the original cover, I'm always going to associate that color with City of Fallen Angels, so it's really off-putting to see City of Fallen Angels as a blue book. And while it does bug me a little bit that they changed the people on the cover, this one is by far better than the original cover of City of Fallen Angels. Even though they did change the color and that bothers me, the color is a lot better. I love how Izzy looks on the cover. It looks a lot cooler than just having Simon and Clary standing there. Just, yeah, City of Fallen Angels was originally my least favorite cover of the series, but I really like this new cover, even though I have a huge aversion to change, as is noted by my dislike of the changing of the colors and the changing of the people. So next we have City of Lost Souls, once again, original, new cover. And I know that I said that the original covers of the series are really cheesy, and that I don't like cheesy, and that this is the cheesiest cover of the series. But it was also my favorite cover in the series, mostly because of the color scheme. I don't know, it wasn't like the romanticism between Clary and Jace. I just really like the color scheme because I really like gray and I really like red and I like the way that they look together. I don't know, I'm weird. Anyway, however, I will say that I do like this new cover because Alec is on it. I feel like Alec is a really underappreciated character and I really like Alec. And so I'm really glad to finally see him on a cover. And actually, I thought that Alec was on the City of Glass cover for the longest time before realizing that it was Sebastian. And that just made me really sad because I wanted Alec to have a cover. And finally he does, and it's a really cool one. It's a cool action shot, and I really like it. That being said, the original cover is my favorite Mortal Instruments cover, and although I do really like this one, I'm gonna have to pronounce it a tie again, just because I like the original cover so much, even though it's so cheesy. Okay, moving on to City of Heavenly Fire. Again, original, new. Is it weird to say that I really like how the colors blend together? Is that weird? I don't know, I just really like how the light and the dark combine together around him on the cover. I think it's really cool. That being said, I do feel like this new cover suffers from model on the cover syndrome because, I mean, it doesn't really look like he's doing that much. He's kind of just chilling there with the sword. I don't know, I feel like this one's a toss-up too because I really like the original cover and I like this one too, and I'm not sure which one I like better. So my general opinion on the Mortal Instruments is that I really like the new covers for the ones where I didn't like the covers originally, and I kind of like the new covers equally for the ones where I did like the cover originally. Okay, moving on to the Infernal Devices trilogy, starting with, of course, Clockwork Angel. Again, original, new. So the original Clockwork Angel cover is not my favorite. I don't know, I just didn't think it was very dynamic. It was kind of boring. The first thing that I really like about the new Clockwork Angel cover is that it has a Clockwork Angel in the background. I feel like this is a lot better background than the runes used on the Mortal Instruments covers. I do think, though, that this cover suffers from the model on the cover syndrome because Will doesn't look like he's doing very much. I mean, he's pulling out a sword, but it doesn't look like he's about to do anything particularly violent with the sword. It just looks like he's pulling it out and admiring it. So yeah, I have mixed feelings about this. So yeah, I'm not a huge fan of this cover, but because I'm really not a fan of the original cover, I would say that this one is definitely better. So moving on to Clockwork Prince, again, original, new, and like I said at the beginning of the video, Clockwork Prince is my favorite Cassandra Clare novel cover, and that is the exact same with these new covers. Like, oh my goodness, Jim and his violin on the front of this cover, I cannot even deal with it. I absolutely love it. Yeah, I just love this cover. And I do love the original cover, but I think that this one's gonna have to beat it. I was going to say that they were tied, and I just loved both of them enough that I couldn't choose a favorite. But I do think that I like this one better. I think that Jim is depicted better on this one than he is on the original Clockwork Prince cover, And I mean, I play viola. I'm a sucker for stringed instruments, and I love seeing Jim playing his violin on the cover. Moving on to Clockwork Princess, once again, original, new. I'm gonna say it right off the bat, I like the original cover better. This is literally the only book out of all 9 books where I say definitively I like the original cover better. It's just model on the cover syndrome. Like, at least in the original cover, there was interesting stuff going on. Like, Tessa had the book, and there was the bridge in the background as this beautiful symbolism for one of my favorite parts of the book. And then this cover is just Tessa sitting in a dress with blood on it and looking at the blood. Also, I just tried to look this up, but is that even Tessa on the cover? Like, this girl is blondish and Tessa's a brunette. That makes me wonder if maybe it's Jessamine on the cover? I mean, I just assumed it was Tessa because all of the Infernal Devices books so far have followed the same characters on the cover, and so it makes sense that Tessa would be on the cover of this one. But I don't know. It doesn't really look like Tessa. Yeah, like I said, the original Clockwork Princess cover is definitely better. Okay, so overall opinions on the new covers. I would say that in general, they are definitely an improvement. I love that most of them are action shots because I feel like that's a lot more dynamic than the original covers, and I also like that they have more of a realism and a 3D aspect rather than the original covers that just look very flat and 2D. And I think the one thing that I appreciate the most about these covers is that I feel like the depiction of each of the characters is spot on. Jace looks like Jace, Clary looks like Clary, Jim looks like Jim, and so on. Except with the whole Tessa thing. Not so sure about that. But in general, I do feel like the characters are depicted really well in the covers and they look like the characters that they're supposed to be portraying. Now for the downside for me. I feel like when you do a cover redesign, it needs to be amazing. Like, you need to make these new covers so great that the fans have to buy them. And I'm not sure they did that. I mean, in general, these covers aren't huge departures from the original covers. They still have people on the cover, and even though those people are more dynamic on most of the covers, it still sometimes suffers from the model on the cover syndrome that the original cover suffered from. So yeah, while I like these new covers, I feel like it's a bit underwhelming for a cover redesign. I mean, even with the new Harry Potter cover designs, at least they were really different. They were a different artistic style, they depicted different things from the covers, and so even though I don't personally want to buy the new Harry Potter covers, I do think that they were handled well. Whereas while I do much prefer the new artistic style and the aesthetic choices for the new Cassandra Clare covers, I feel like they're not a huge departure from the original covers. Now, this may seem like I'm contradicting myself because earlier I was complaining about the fact that they did change some of the colors and the characters on the cover. However, if they did make more stylistic changes to these new covers, that wouldn't even be there for me to complain about. If there wasn't just a single character on each of the book covers, I couldn't complain about the fact that they just changed the character. In that situation, it would be more like, oh look, they put a landscape on the cover rather than a character. That's interesting. Am I making sense? I feel like I'm slightly rambling. It makes sense in my mind, but I'm not sure if it's going to make sense to anyone else. My main point here is that if you're going to go through the effort of completely redesigning book covers, don't start with a book where there's a character posing on the cover and end up with a book where a character is posing on the cover. So in general, I do feel like these covers are definitely a step up from the originals. However, I do feel like there could have been more stylistic, aesthetic, interesting changes made to these covers to make them even more dynamic. So that is all that I had for this video. I'm sorry if it's kind of long. I just had a lot of opinions because I love both of these series and I love talking about them. And I hope that you enjoyed listening to me talk about them. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think about these new covers. Do you like them? Do you hate them? Do you understand my complaints at all? Let me know. As always, I will leave links down in the description to my blog, Twitter, and Goodreads. Please add me as a friend on Goodreads. I would love to be friends with all of you. Like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!